So that's why we're here. We will, of course, have a more organized, we will call a meeting later when we get closer to actually constructing the well. We're here because we heard that there were concerns about the new well that the district is planning to drill at the corner of Cathedral and Trout Gulch. I hope you all understand the location that we're talking about. It's across from the post office.
Right, I got it now.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so
Yes.
this is about a 1,600 square foot pie, slice of pie that the district acquired. We purchased that. And I want to be clear that the water in the area, if you're all on wells, you probably know has iron and manganese in it. And so we do have to treat it. This well site is strictly a well. There is no treatment plant there. We're going to put it underground and take it to an existing water treatment facility that's located at the entrance to Mason March Park. You might know where that is. There's a drinking fountain right there.
Where?
Near Nicey March Park, the
Oh,
entrance
yes,
there,
yes,
the
yes.
bike shop. and all
Yes, I
that.
know exactly where that is.
We have a well site there. It's nice that
Yes,
you didn't.
I know, I parked in front of it all.
Okay. You don't block the driveway though. Anyway, so I just want to provide a little overview of how this well fits into the whole context of the district. When I said there wouldn't be a treatment plant, it is planned to be just a pipe coming out of the ground. There's different types of well pumps that you can have that have a motor that's above ground. This motor will be underground, so when it is operating, you wouldn't hear anything. It's a water in a pipe. So that's one of the impacts that we assessed when we prepared an environmental impact report many years ago, back 2011. And an EIR, as you probably know, addresses several potential impacts, and of course noise is one of them. And also in the EIR is construction noise. And so we can talk about that and how we try to accommodate people that are really close, because they do have to drill the well 24 hours a day for a small period of time. Otherwise the well could collapse. So the other part that I can go into, I have several, I don't know how many of you are within this radius of 1,000 meters or 3,000 feet of the site. This is we sent out notices to about 1,800 people that are all green on this map. Maybe some of you got one. And of course, that overlaps with some of our own customers. But we don't presume that they don't have a well. Some of them could have two connections. So only a handful of them responded to us. Some of them were skeptical. They didn't want to be metered. They didn't want to be monitored. But that's their prerogative. It's a voluntary program. And obviously the intent, there's several impacts in the EIR, and one of them is groundwater hydrology. And we assess, we have a program in here, it's voluntary, so if you don't want to get involved, that's fine, to monitor private wells for any impacts from the new well. I want to clarify that this well is one of 5 wells that were evaluated in the EIR throughout the whole district. This is the first one that we worked on was the Polo Grounds Park well. I don't know if you remember that, if you frequent that park. And then the second one was at the end of 41st Avenue. And this is the third one. There are a couple others that we're trying to get done.
Is the one on 41st separate from the Belts well?
The Belts well is a city of Santa Cruz, and we're different. So we don't.
How close together are those two?
The Belts well is near FedEx, and so if you know that distance, I don't know the lineal ballpark.
Half mile, maybe,
I don't know.
roughly, maybe less.
So there are some private wells. Each well site did a similar mailing for any private wells within the 3,000 feet. And a handful of people here and there have done it. So monitoring of private wells, we have a very good understanding of the process. So if anybody is curious, if anybody's one of those people, please feel free to come to me and I can fill you in. Bryce Dahlmeyer, our assistant engineer, is also probably the one that reached out on that letter review. So, getting to the point of the EIR and the point of putting in new wells, it's not, please understand that it's not to take more water out of the ground. In fact, not that at all. While it may appear that we have this extra capacity, the district already has a lot of capacity to pull water out of the ground if we ran our wells longer. And that's not the intent of this program. This EIR and the well master plan is to not pump as much near the coast, because that's really where the vulnerability is to seawater intrusion. And so this EIR has an evaluation of basically shifting a pump, is what it's intended to do. So please understand that while there's new water coming out of this well, that means that there's less water coming out of an existing well somewhere within the district. Probably the ones closer, definitely the ones closer to the coast. Does that make sense to everybody? That it's sort of an offset. Okay. Did you have a question?
So as you drill a new well, you're not shutting the older ones down?
Some of them actually are, some of them we are destroying. Some of them are really old. The others, we maintain more of a standby well in case we
So we're
need.
going to roughly have 15 or 16 ongoing wells?
We already have 15 active wells.
How far will the new well be from the water?
From where? From the coast? I don't have that number. Ballpark? Why, no, I don't have a ballpark. You guys can, you know, if you need to know that, that's,
It's half mile.
you know,
Or would you agree it's half a mile?
no, I don't.
Would you agree it's
I-
three-quarters?
No, I'm not here to speculate.
Well, how many football fields of 100 yards each do you
Well, we
think
know where
extend
it
from
is.
it approximately?
You know where it
It's
is. You can
important
do
to
the
get
math.
this number on the tape.
I'm not gonna answer that question.
You'd be prepared to talk about a well down the road here that's within eyesight of the ocean and the beach, and you're not going to tell us how close it is to the sources of salt water?
We have other wells that are closer than this well.
Well, tell us how close this one is.
That's irrelevant.
I'm not going to provide it.
You guys,
You're an engineer.
if you want me to entertain this question, I'm not here to do
I
that.
think you're going to yes, the group will entertain the question.
I'm gonna need some support on this.
Let me ask you.
How we would like him to answer the question, have they calculated how close this well is to the salt water that may destroy it?
It's all in the CIR. If you want to
Well,
read,
then, fine. What is it?
there's an entire section on hydrogeology.
What section and what page would that answer be in?
Let me ask, do we want to show a hand?
Does everyone want the answer to that question? That's why we came here to get that answer. Very important. I can't believe you came unprepared to discuss those details with the people whose water supply is impacted by it potentially.
In the meantime, may I ask you a couple questions?
Of course.
Is the well that's proposed, is that fully permitted at this point?
No, it's not.
How much is the overall cost going to be for this well?
Significantly cheaper than some of the other wells that are identified because there is no, it's actually the cheapest because there's no iron and manganese treatment facility that's needed. We already have an existing one that's a short distance, and that's one of the reasons that we're drilling the well somewhat close to an existing facility to save our customers money.
On that cost question,
So,
wait a minute, the answer's available, and you were at the 6 October meeting. I'm going to help you answer this question. You were at the 6 October meeting, and guess what? Item 3.2, Granite Way well. And guess what it says on page 43 of 138, which you helped put together? It says $131,000. $131,660. Is that the cost estimate to provide the answer the man's asked for?
no, this is only a portion of the well. Drilling the well is estimated to be, we haven't bid that yet. Based on our experience, it's going to be between $600,000 and $700,000 to just drill a hole in the ground, straw in the ground. What you're referring to is a contract for designing some of the infrastructure, the wellhead, the trenching to get the water from there to the treatment
So
facility.
you and the
This is a
staff
small
and the board of
contract.
directors did not provide that number to the public as you're required to do. It's relevant information. You did not provide that $700,000 estimate on the 6th October meeting.
It's
In
in
the
our
public report there, you, on the agenda items, you only provided 131,000 of the 700,000.
It's been provided in our budget for several years. It will be presented to the board when we bid it out in public meeting. So it will be brought to the board with an engineer's estimate. It will be brought back to the board after it's been bid, and an award will be considered at that time.
I think originally it was something like 1.1 million or something like that. It was in the local papers.
I have a question. Is there a way to quantitate the risk involved with saltwater intrusion in relationship to this new well?
I can take a gander at that. The way it works is, without getting into a map and that sort of thing, that basically the closer you are to the coast, the well, where you're pulling from, the greater you have a chance of incurring seawater intrusion. The further you move that well back, the triangle becomes smaller, the less the gradient is to bring in the seawater intrusion. That's why moving the well back. And the question was asked, how far inland is the proposed Granite Way well? And if my calculations are right, and I would like to verify, but based on the map that's in the EIR figure 2.2, which has a scale on it, and I had to use a card to try to do it, it looks about 8.5 miles in.
And are there any agencies monitoring saltwater?
Does anybody here believe this is
That's
the
going
ocean
on.
8 miles away?
I'm sorry, it's a mistake.
I made a mistake, that's 0.5, that's 0.5 miles. So,
How could he not come prepared? This is about,
I take full responsibility.
It is.
Thank you,
I
Tom.
asked how close to the ocean is
It's
it?
a mile and a half.
So are there any agencies chartered to monitor the saltwater intrusion problem? And are there any statistics to show where certain wells are being affected by saltwater intrusion? What would that agency be?
That's us.
That's you guys, okay.
Yes. We have over 80 monitoring wells throughout our district. They don't extract any water. They allow us to sample water quality, total dissolved solids, chlorides, in addition to obviously water level. The critical wells that we do look at very closely are the ones that are on the coast, or a stone's throw from the ocean. And so that's all public information. You're welcome to look at that. It's gobs of data, and that's what we use to determine where the intrusion is most active.
The mount pump has declined, and those graphs are available. They were just published, I think, Tuesday night, matter of fact, in our board packet, if anybody's interested in all of them.
But it wasn't until 2008 that overdrafting seemed to recede. We're still overdrafting up until 2008.
We are still in parts of the basin overdrafted, absolutely.
Correct.
Yes.
Santa Cruz has earned that distinction in the last 6 months. We've been placed on the state's draft of critically overdrafted basins, or where that is well.
Right, we worked with DWR to make that happen.
And their map shows it going all the way up to 41st Avenue and everything out there as far as critically overdrafted. The 2008 Health and Services report also reported the Red Sands Aquifer was critically overdrafted at that time. How can you rationalize using water in this situation of critical overdrafting that's continuing?
You know, we've worked with our customers and they've done a tremendous job. We've reduced, I think since 2013, if you use that as a baseline, roughly 25%. Last year and this year over 25% of the water use. And we have probably one of the most aggressive conservation efforts out there. Our board's instituted that since 2013. Matter of fact, LA Times, I think it's LA Times, rated us in the top 10 in the state as far as that's concerned.
But we're not making water, and putting in local toilets doesn't make water. We keep talking like we're saving water, and we're making water, and we're retrofitting. I don't see any water.
Right, right.
So
So we're
are you
working.
convincing me that water's falling down from heaven? I don't understand.
I hope it does.
I don't understand how we have water.
So, have I been clear on how we're looking for additional sources of water and evaluate those?
12 years ago, we're still looking, yes.
You know, it's a lot of work to get a supplemental supply, but we're not getting enough. We're trying very, very hard. We're in the midst, we got a state grant to do a feasibility study. And in the midst of that, Todd and I are heading that up with our consultants. So let's take another question. Maybe over here, this gentleman's been waiting.
Okay, are you handing out water permits now for construction?
Water permits?
You are.
Will serve letters, you mean?
Most of you.
Yeah, only if they
Yeah, we
So you're
issue,
still handing out new ones?
the board has not stopped that. They looked at that. We are still issuing a conditional will serve letter, which if they do that, then they've got a host of water efficiency and offset, water demand offsets. And once, if that's all done in the proper fashion, everything, and all the other requirements are made, all the offsets and everything, then they can move toward an unconditional.
But it makes no sense. The citizens say 25%. You take that 25%, you give it to Barry Switz, the whole work.
Yeah. That 25% is a much larger number than what we're talking about right now, but,
Well, you got that project, and you got the Twin Lakes Baptist Church, you guys gained the permit. I mean, there's something wrong here.
Yes.
Why are we saving it, then they take it?
And-
We're giving it to,
Explain that, Mr. Duncan.
And-
How do you justify he's giving you water, Illinois has reduced their water consumption? You have, let's say, a 25% reduction in the prior year. Why would you add additional hookups and give additional will serve letters to places like the Aptos Village Project, the church, and even a single homeowner or a new home being built? Why?
so,
Question.
let me reiterate, we have a program called the Water Demand Offset Program that's been recognized through the state. Like I said, it got the Theodore Roosevelt Award for environmental stewardship. That requires everybody who needs a water meter, builds new, to offset anywhere between 120 to 200% of their projected water use. Is that clear? A lot of people don't have a hard time understanding this. Nancy, do you get that? I mean, just as a little stuff.
I get it, but I have a few questions.
Okay, let me make sure we're doing this in I just want to, I'm very, you know what? We probably have about 3 minutes left because I've been talking
Five.
to another group.
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes left. So,
We have some new people here. I wonder if there are any questions about
is there anything new we can
relocation,
cover to help just cover a broader ground? Maybe that's a good way if you feel you have a question in that vein.
relocation due to the noise, if people up the hill are going to be bothered by the noise, if you folks have any concerns
And let
about
me
that.
say, Taj is available. You know, he's put his card out here. He's put a sign-up list. You know, he's the most knowledgeable about the Granite Way well person we have. So please call him if you have any questions.
We've done this before.
Well, if I flush my toilet with a bucket and save 3 gallons of water, you're gonna give that 3 gallons of water to my neighbor who has a toilet that flushes 25 gallons.
No, we'll count that toward just helping prevent seawater intrusion. You have to enter into the water demand offset program and have the developer buy fixtures for you to save water. Yours is just goodwill to help minimize the problem. So unless you sign an agreement to do that, then the answer is no. So,
As you said earlier, we've dug our own hole here. Everybody's contributed to the problem. The first rule of holes is to quit digging. You don't have anything to supply anybody with. You've got to stop, you've got to look, you've got to postpone things like the Aptos Village Project until you know you have enough. You've not going to offset it. You've got to eliminate the overdraft before you can afford to do these things.
well, thank you for sharing that
No.
opinion. On that note,
Now, we're on my question.
The law is on its
I'll say, my question, why don't you just stop the moratorium?
so on that note, it would be
Another observation, your most knowledgeable person about the Granite Well doesn't know how far it is
I
from the
know that
ocean?
mistake because.
You're saying he's the most knowledgeable, he can't answer the first question?
When
You
I
know-
said- let me just cover that.
How close to the
I
ocean
I didn't
is
take
it?
my glasses.
And incorporating that with a raw water line that would be underground, that would go through towards Nicene Marks, underground towards the existing facility. Coordination with PG&E also is going to be needed, so, you know, I wouldn't expect the well to be operational for another year after that. You're next.
What is the anticipated depth of this well? And has anyone any idea what the geological strata is as you go down?
Yes. It's, of course, the design is calling for a 710-foot deep well. The screens don't start until 440 feet. From 440 to the surface, it will have a cement grout seal. So that basically any of those upper layers are contributing anything to this well.
Sedimentatious stuff, this is what you're doing through that 400 feet. This is sand you're drilling.
Well, there's layers of clay. It just doesn't, and not anticipating much water-bearing layers there.
More concerned with what happened as it was being.
Are you concerned about subsidence?
What?
Subsidence? What do you do?
Not necessarily. I'm concerned about what the strata is as you go down. If you're going to have to do a lot of concrete as you go through everything, that's quite a lot of expense. Is there other sites that might be better places where you don't have all this very strange strata that you have in this canyon right here? The historic.
We have another well nearby, so we know what we're getting
That's what
into.
I'm asking. Yeah.
Well, we obviously are trying to stay close to the well treatment facility. So, you know, anything within that vicinity, I think, is going to have the same geology as adjacent to that.
And what is
You hear
that?
what you said? I think,
I
I'm
know.
guessing.
No, I know.
You don't know and you've done an EIR and you're in charge of the project? And you don't have knowledge of that?
Mr. West, that answers your
I
question.
don't.
I haven't yet heard what the strata is.
No, let's not have a guessing answer. I want an accurate answer. So is Mr. Webb, not a guess or I don't know. If I don't know, I promise, Mr. Webb, I will make it available and have it available within tomorrow afternoon, 5 p.m., I would think, at the office.
Weber.
Weber. Is it Weber?
No.
My name is Webb.
Oh, I'm saying, so Webb.
Sorry.
So the question still stands.
Yeah.
You didn't answer his question. It's astonishing to me you
I
don't
did
have that
answer.
technical information.
Mr. Webb, do you feel like your question's been answered?
Not yet, no, I haven't heard what the strata is. I heard that there's a nearby well, which I know what that is, but I haven't heard what that is.
Go ahead and, I'll look that up.
Thank you.
I'll try to find that.
Okay, this portion of the aquifer has, it's the Charisma aquifer. And it's different than as you go further south, southeast, where you have the Aromas red sands, which I could, you know that it's all sand straight through. The Charisma formation has different clay bearing, clay strata. But we do know that there are different, they call them the Charisma A unit, the B unit, the C unit. And so what we do know is that we don't really want to target the zone that's already compromised in the area, in the Charisma formation. So we're trying to go below that.
By compromise, you mean the area that might have saltwater intrusion, or?
It currently does not, but it has levels that are very low, below the sea level.
So that leads into a question I had, Mr. Duncan. I sent you some links today. One of them is a map of the Colorado Valley Water Management showing the below sea level from 2011, 12, and 13. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I haven't.
Okay.
What's your name?
My name's Chris, and it shows the groundwater has been below sea level, all the way extending to the San Andreas Fault Zone. It actually goes underneath that, is that correct? Because just the district stops there, that's why the map stops there, but it actually goes beyond the San Andreas line, is that correct?
I'd have to look at a map. We know that since the 50s, down there in that area, they've had seawater intrusion.
Yeah, it's a very large swath too. It doesn't even include up to Aptos, which is just the Colorado Valley Water Management. Yeah. Do you guys know offhand if the new well, proposed well, if it's operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, how much water could be pumped?
It's really, the district is somewhat limited to what's identified as the IR. I don't know if you guys are familiar with acre feet
Yes.
of water production. 1 acre foot is about 325,850 gallons. So in the IR, part of the redistribution of the pumping is to have a goal of pumping wells no more than 50%, so no more than 12 hours a day. Understandable on certain peak day demands that they will go higher than that. But in the IR, it states that the well is anticipated to run 8 to 18 hours a day and produce 150 to 200 acre feet a year.
You have to do that again.
Let's say 150 to 250.
100 to 200 acre feet a year.
200 acre feet a year.
100 to 230.
150, 200 acre feet.
Bob, should I ask you a question? Is the EIR on our website? Okay, so all this
Is
is
it
on.
on?
Yeah, so it's a wealth of information. Anybody like to see it? You can certainly go to our website, under reports or contact College.
So it's 8 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, it's on demand, really, so it's controlled by the tank levels, so potentially, yeah.
Is any of the schools are just over 3,000 foot circle that you've drawn on that map? Valencia Elementary and the other schools there.
Looks like Valencia is.
Is within 3,000 feet.
Any others? I don't know. I mean, they certainly didn't respond to our mailer because they probably don't have a well. But I'm not sure of the others that I could talk to. Okay, you have that.
You mentioned that you're going to be shutting down some other wells that are near the coast or stop using them as much. Have those been identified and made public?
Yeah, they're in the IR.
They're in the IR.
Yeah, Monterey well is one of them now. Understand that the district is here to try to manage the basin as a whole.
Right.
So that, that well is not really in this vicinity, but it's
So that station that is at the end on Hidden Beach, is that just a treatment at the end of Hidden Beach?
Beach is a sewer lift station.
Okay, that has nothing to do with, okay,
Okay.
just checking that.
So that picture that you showed of this big pipe coming out of the ground, that's what it's expected to look like? Is there any of those big out there?
There would be a fence around it.
And for 3 months, this pump is going to go 24 hours a day?
No.
Or the drilling will be building 24 hours?
No.
You said 3 months.
Right.
The
No.
drilling will take 3 months, is what you said.
Yes, I did. But the 24 hours a day is not for 3 months. It's likely for a couple weeks.
I have a question.
I don't understand all this stuff to begin with, but why is the pump there as opposed to the station that it's supposed to be working with? You said there's already a treatment. Why are they not closer together?
Because there is a well at that treatment facility already. And it's planned to stay there and still produce water. You can't locate wells too close together. As much as we like drillers to drill a vertical hole, they can stray, and you don't want to get interfered, compromised wells like that. Not to mention, they do draw down the water level around the well, and so you can have interference, well interference.
At the Board of Supervisors meeting, the presentation that you made on it was alarming. It sounded like almost like you were kind of dumping on the supervisors because you're taking so much heat from maybe us and others. It wasn't meant to be, but it still sounded more alarming than most of us there realized. And I'm just wondering, at what point would you say, hey, can't do it, can't get any more water? Is there anything in your scope of the laws that you'd be able to veto something like that, or is that?
Let me say this, welding is part of the strategy to reduce seawater intrusion further. So it's to help basically, I don't know if solve the problem, but prevent it from getting any worse. Is that a fair word?
Yeah, it's prolonging the, how much time we have.
How about people use less water?
As
Unless
we
you stop adding any more extraction, and unless you stop trying to serve other new construction.
Right.
You don't have any water.
So that's a great point. And let me just jump in and add to that. So this is just one of several approaches we use to try to minimize the seawater intrusion issue that's a serious issue for our folks. Once that happens, it really stops. I think that's the gist of the presentation. A couple other strategies we're using. On the big one, we're trying to develop additional water supplies, because it doesn't matter whether existing new development comes in. All of you and us have created the existing problem. It's not the new people. It's already 1/3 short, so it's us. We're looking at the problem. You, me. And so we're trying to make up for all this that we're pumping since about the mid-1980s. So by doing, so what we're trying to do, this well is just one thing to buy us a little time while we search for additional water supplies. We're now pursuing purified and recycled water as one potential option with a feasibility study. We also have another program that most of you have heard about, or a few of you probably haven't, most of you probably haven't. It's called our Water Demand Offset Program. And it's been recognized for the Theodore Roosevelt Award for Environmental Stewardship. And it's been going since 2003, and is a model for other agencies to use, and they've definitely been calling us. And what that has entailed since 2003 is that any new development, whether it's a church, a house, a business, has to offset more water than is projected to use. And we have very concise forms that show numbers on them. We go through, we get the square footage, we look at whatever, and we check that box of how much they're projected to use based on some statistical analysis that have been done. And then we make them offset that projected water use more than what they're using, anywhere from 120% of what they're projected to use up to 200. And it's varied over time. So in reality, the new development that has occurred, the intent has been for them to contribute more back than they're projected to use. And that's done by various ways. They've either gone in and retrofitted fixtures in existing customer houses. I don't know how many of you are customers, but if you were all customers, there'd be a fair portion of you who would raise their hands if we said you had some free toilet. Back here is one example. Thank you. Is that
No.
Oh, okay.
Just raise my hand.
Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to lay that out. Does that help?
Yeah, it does, but I guess ideally you'd have no construction and do that anyway. But, in the perfect world, we're, not the perfect world, but
We did
When we've got true electoral problems.
There's a question in the back.
Well, I was just curious because there's going to be a desalination plant in Moss Landing, Why couldn't you guys just wait to drill this well and have like storage containers and use that water? Because there's going to be a lot of water in that, and I mean, drilling a new well is not going to help you guys reduce seawater intrusion. That's just going to make it worse.
If we, that's an understandable perspective. However, it will slow down the seawater intrusion. We're not pumping more water, as Tosh said. It'll slow it down. We could draw this. The further you get away from the coast, just the less impact.
Soquel Creek Water District agenda, item 3.2, the Granite Well project, the pages I referred you to earlier, at page 43 in particular, and also at 44 following. You said you're going to start construction of the well, drilling. Is that correct?
Yeah.
In January.
Yeah, we're a little behind schedule.
Okay. It doesn't indicate that in the 6 October report agenda item approved by the board.
Because that's a different contract.
Okay, it says, but this, he's doing his design review. It says bid and construction services 4.0, April 18 of 2016.
Right. That is for the construction of the above-ground facilities after the well has been drilled. So they are an engineering firm that is designing the infrastructure to get the water out of the well and push it over to the treatment plant. That comes after drilling the well, likely April, May.
Okay,
That's
is that
why-
a contract been approved?
Yes, they're beginning design on it.
No, has it been approved to do the well? Has a drilling company been?
This isn't a drilling contract, I think. It's
This is the surface contract.
Right.
And you said the drilling begins in January. And they're not doing, Hydro is not doing the drilling, Hydro whatever they are.
Under science.
Hydrosite, they're doing the surface work. So who's doing the drilling?
It's yet to be decided. It's
So
out
there
to
is no
bid.
contract for the drilling?
The board approved putting it out to bid. So we have not yet received bids from drilling contractors.
To recap, you said bids would be taken in January, drilling would begin in February, is that correct?
That's the goal.
Or are you seeing drilling beginning sooner in January?
Not sooner.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Would you provide me an answer to how far from the ocean the drill site will be, please? And any geological information?
I tell you what,
Next week.
if you give me that map, I'll provide it to him. Like I said, we'll get you there. So let's give Taj a little bit of hand. He came here. He's got
Thank
two
you.
little girls.
What are the chances that the district could go to these very large developers, Barry Swenson Builders, not the only one, and say, look, we're in a really critical state here. The state has declared us critical overdraft. We ourselves have declared a groundwater emergency in 2014. We need your help and cooperation for the benefit of the entire community. Will you please postpone your development, and we will give you credits. Or reduce the development. Somehow acknowledge the real existing problem and how critical it is, and ask them on a human level to work with your department. You could give them monetary rewards. They would get a ton of publicity. What's the chance of that happening? Can that be brought to the board?
If the board so desires, they can ask staff to bring it as an item.
But you're the general manager. Can you do that?
I take directions from the board for items to be on the agenda.
So,
Do you make recommendations?
In the items, we make possible actions.
can we as citizens and customers request that action of the board?
All of y'all are encouraged and welcome to come to any of our board meetings. They're open, public meetings. They're published on the web, the post, and the agendas on there. So I will say that because you seem particularly concerned about Aptos Village, that that's been an ongoing project. But I think, and I'm rough with dates. My wife always gets to me that I'm an approximizer, so bear with me on this. But they roughly 10 years ago, could have been 7, could have been a little more, but they came and did the majority of their offsets. And then I think they had to do some more, it's gone through, but
And they paid a bunch of money.
they paid some money. They did the vast majority by sending plumbers out in the field and actually replacing fixtures that we went in and our staff personally that time verified every single one. So we calculate that, I forget, do you know the number, Becky? You probably know better than I do. What was their offset? Do you know it roughly?
They had to offset 38.1 acre feet.
You say 38?
38.1 acre
38?
feet. Yeah.
So let's say it's 30 that was done a while back, because maybe they did some over time. Let's say that was done for 10 years ago, 30 acre feet. Now I'll put this in the terms. So 30 acre feet, and they haven't built for 10 years, that's 300 acre feet. An acre foot is 325,851 gallons, but it's enough to provide water to 4 families over a year. So they've essentially saved enough water.
Can you say that again?
An acre foot's roughly enough to provide a single family household enough water to 4 single family households and provide it every year. If you're supplied to us, if you live on a single well, it's only probably enough to supply 2. So the single well owners use more money, more water. They have slightly bigger, usually bigger lots and maybe something going on the side. But so by that rough projection, if that was correct, and again, approximately a lot of agencies have that program. And to give you an example, right now, if you purchase a credit, which is the way the program has moved to recently, it costs $55,000 an acre foot. So if you have a single family household and you're projected to use a quarter acre foot, let's say, let's just say that's the total sum, you've got to pay 25% of $55,000 just for your water demand offset, not for the water connection or anything. So it's a fee up above what most agencies do. And we envisioned this program when we started in 2003.
Traffic and safety issues. We live up the road from that development, and I don't know whether a fire truck can get through all of that development. Do we want that in Santa Cruz?
Well, wider use of our urban plan. So where there's all 10,000 square feet, go up to 3 stories maybe and get, some apartments and people who can't afford a single family house, the workforce. And so that's the bigger picture policy that the sustainability policy. It doesn't mean that we're still not going to along Soquel Drive that maybe, need a new use or our detail. Our code already allows for 3-story development. It's just that it doesn't happen that we already have. Things can actually get built.
The rules and making it a little bit more close to what Santa Cruz is all about.
And it's hard to tell them to go away. There's a lot of room in Arizona.
One available for low-income housing is on the book.
I think we got you haven't had that one.
Well, I've had the idea for a long time, and I brought it up to John Leopold. Why don't we have a dorm for Cabrillo College instead of people living in sub-housing, in garages, etc., all rushing to try to get to school and clogging the highway?
I think that's a good idea. We'll make note of it. Yeah, I think we've definitely identified in our sustainable energy plan that, it's not only people who live in the community in their parents' house that go to community college. People come to our community to go to our community college, and there isn't enough of a housing supply for them. So housing for Rio College students is definitely something that we're thinking about how best to do that.
UCSC took over a hotel over there.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I never thought of it for community college.
Okay, so one last question.
I hate to draw on commercial land. You say that part of the permit condition is the identification will be reviewed according to the property, and in some cases the property might have the wedding over here, the dinner or the meal there, dance reception over here, or in a couple places. So you say the location, you actually take into consideration
All of those activities. Yes.
Details?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for doing that.
Yeah, and please do make sure that you let us